Have you ever noticed how chasing someone's attention always seems to push them further away? It's a paradox we've all lived through. The more desperate we appear, the less attractive we become. Our culture, shaped by Hollywood love stories, dating apps, and endless scrolling on social media, has sold us the lie that love is a hunt, a prize to be won. But the truth is far more liberating and far older than we think. The Stoics understood something that modern science and psychology are only beginning to rediscover. Attraction isn't about pursuit, it's about presence. It's not about running after others, but about becoming the kind of person others are naturally drawn to. Ryan Holiday, one of the most widely read Stoic authors in America, put it with piercing clarity. Your power is not in controlling other people, but in building a character so strong it cannot be shaken. This is not a tactic. This is not a dating trick. This is a way of life. The Stoics knew that real attraction doesn't come from chasing approval. It comes from building yourself into a center of gravity, like the sun. Planets don't chase the sun, they orbit around it naturally. The same is true in relationships. The less you beg for validation, the more you command respect and attention. Welcome to the Stoic Lighthouse. This is where ancient wisdom cuts through modern confusion. If you're ready to step out of the exhausting chase and into the calm strength of Stoic attraction, hit that like button and subscribe so you never miss our guides. Today, we're going to break down the 6 Stoic pillars of attraction. These are not tricks to manipulate people, they are principles to transform yourself. By the end, you'll see why the greatest magnet in the universe is not pursuit, but mastery of self. Number 1, the validation trap. Why chasing is anti-Stoic. We all know the feeling, that nervous wait after sending a message, that sinking in your stomach when the reply doesn't come, the emotional roller coaster of excitement when someone answers quickly, and the anxiety when they leave you unseen. To a Stoic, this isn't romance, this is slavery. It's proof that we've handed over the keys to our peace of mind, placing our happiness in the hands of someone else. And that, according to the Stoics, is one of the greatest mistakes a human being can make. The entire Stoic system rests on one unshakable foundation: the dichotomy of control, what belongs to us and what doesn't. Our judgments, our actions, our values, that's ours. Everything else, the weather, the economy, and most importantly, the feelings and decisions of other people, is not. Zeno, the founder of Stoicism, taught that true freedom comes from aligning with what is in our power and letting go of what is not. As Epictetus warned his students long ago, the chief task in life is simply this: to separate matters, saying clearly to yourself which are externals not under your control and which are the choices that are truly your own. Chasing someone's attention is pouring all your energy into the uncontrollable column. It's like trying to hold the wind in your hands. You can run after it, scream at it, but it will blow where it wishes, and you will end up exhausted and broken. Chrysippus, one of Stoicism's greatest systematizers, sharpened this principle even further. Nothing outside your reason and virtue can truly belong to you. By chasing others, we surrender ourselves to what can never be ours. Fast forward to today. Naval Ravikant, a modern thinker deeply influenced by Stoicism, rephrases this with brutal honesty. Desire is a contract you make with yourself to be unhappy until you get what you want. When you chase someone, you sign this contract. You sentence yourself to misery until they validate you. But the Stoic refuses to sign. The Stoic reclaims freedom by anchoring value internally, not externally. And here's the paradox. The moment you stop chasing, you become infinitely more attractive. The person who doesn't beg, who doesn't crumble under silence, who radiates calm self-sufficiency, this person becomes magnetic. Think of Marcus Aurelius, the Emperor of Rome. The most powerful man in the world had enemies, betrayals, even family turning against him. And yet he wrote to himself daily, grounding his peace in his own mind, never in the applause or approval of others. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, "Your peace comes from within. If you seek it in others, you will never find it." When you embrace this truth, you stop seeing silence as rejection and start seeing it as freedom. You stop obsessing over how someone feels about you and start mastering how you feel about yourself. That's not just Stoic wisdom, that's the foundation of real attraction. Number 2, becoming the sun, building virtue, Areté, as the ultimate magnet. If chasing is a desperate sprint after the wind, then the Stoic alternative is a completely different game. You don't chase. You become the destination. You don't search for the light. You become the source of it. Like the sun, you radiate so much strength, clarity, and warmth that others are drawn to you naturally. This is not about tricks or manipulation. It is about transforming yourself into the kind of person people cannot help but respect and admire. The Greeks had a word for this project, Areté, usually translated as virtue or excellence. Areté meant living at the highest version of yourself in every moment. To the Stoics, this was the true purpose of life, and as a byproduct, it's also the most powerful form of attraction ever known. Zeno laid the foundation of Areté in Stoicism, but it was Chrysippus who systematized it into the 4 cardinal virtues: wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance. These aren't abstract moral codes. They are the pillars that make a person magnetically attractive. Wisdom is the ability to cut through noise, to see what matters and what doesn't. A wise person doesn't get lost in drama or trivial distractions. Socrates, the inspiration of the Stoics, reminded us that wisdom begins with admitting our own ignorance, that humility sparks curiosity, growth, and powerful conversations that captivate others. Justice is about trustworthiness and character. In a world full of manipulation and hidden agendas, the person who treats others with fairness and integrity stands out like a lighthouse in the fog. People feel safe with them. They become the foundation for meaningful relationships. Courage is not only physical bravery, but the strength to be authentic, to live by your values, and to take risks without fear of rejection. Seneca once wrote, "Sometimes even to live is an act of courage." When you live boldly and authentically, you give others permission to do the same, and that courage is irresistible. Temperance is self-mastery. In a culture driven by instant gratification, endless swiping, and desperate need for attention, the one who exercises restraint, who isn't controlled by impulses, radiates calm confidence. This self-control doesn't repel, it attracts. Modern Stoic author Ryan Holiday crystallized this lesson in his reflections on virtue. Virtue is self-sufficient. It needs no applause, no recognition, but inevitably it draws respect and admiration. The point is simple. When you invest your energy into building these 4 pillars, you stop asking, "What do I need to do so they'll like me?" and start asking, "Who do I need to become?" The moment you step onto that path of Areté, attraction ceases to be a chase. It becomes a natural consequence of who you are. Number 3, the power of detachment, practicing preferred indifference. At some point, even as you work on building your inner strength, you'll feel the pull of desire. You'll want connection, intimacy, even romance. The question is, how do you hold that desire without becoming enslaved by it? Here lies one of the most subtle but powerful Stoic tools, preferred indifference. Zeno first introduced the idea and Chrysippus refined it. The world is divided into 3 categories: the good, which is virtue, the bad, which is vice, and everything else, health, wealth, reputation, even romantic affection, belongs in a 3rd category, the indifference. Calling them indifferent doesn't mean they're meaningless. It means they don't decide whether you are a good or bad person. They are morally neutral. Among these indifferents, the Stoics created 2 subgroups, preferred and non-preferred. Of course, it's preferable to be healthy than sick, to have friendship rather than loneliness, to experience love instead of rejection. But here is the key: your peace, your fulfillment, your core happiness cannot depend on securing these things. They are additions, not necessities. As Epictetus reminded his students, freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control. Modern Stoic thinker William B. Irvine translated this wisdom into what he calls internalized goals. Instead of aiming to win the game, the Stoic aims to play the best they can. Winning is outside your control. Effort, attitude, and authenticity are not. Applied to attraction, this means your goal is not to get the person. That outcome doesn't belong to you. Your goal is to show up as your most authentic, virtuous, confident self. The response of the other person is a preferred indifferent. Great if it happens. But your worth doesn't collapse if it doesn't. This detachment kills neediness at the root. And neediness is one of the most repelling energies in human relationships. The Stoic projects the opposite signal. By anchoring their completeness within, they radiate a powerful message. I am whole already. A relationship would enrich my life, but it is not the air I breathe. Heraclitus, centuries before Stoicism, understood the law that underlies this mindset. He reminded us of the impermanence of all things. The only constant in life is change. To tie your peace to the shifting emotions of another person is like building a house on a river. The waters will always move, and you will drown with them. Detachment is not coldness, it's the highest form of wisdom. It's the freedom to love fully without chains, because your foundation doesn't depend on the outcome. In modern dating culture, where ghosting, swiping, and toxic games dominate, preferred indifference is revolutionary. It allows you to participate with courage and openness while never surrendering your inner freedom. That balance, engaged yet unshaken, is what makes the Stoic approach uniquely magnetic. Number 4, purposeful action. How a Stoic shows interest. It's easy to misunderstand detachment as passivity, to think that Stoicism means sitting quietly, waiting for destiny to drop the perfect person at your door. But Stoicism was never a philosophy of withdrawal. It's a philosophy of action, deliberate, intentional, purposeful action. The difference between chasing and acting lies not in movement, but in the mindset behind it. Chasing is anxious. It comes from fear of loss, from desperation for approval. Purposeful action is calm. It comes from strength, from clarity, from the courage to move without being enslaved by the result. So how does a Stoic show interest in someone? Not through games, manipulation, or endless decoding of mixed signals, but with honesty, directness, and respect. If a Stoic wants to know someone better, they simply ask. If they want to spend time with someone, they invite them. The action is straightforward. What makes it powerful is the mindset behind it. As Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations, perform every act of your life as though it were your last, free from all randomness and without the passionate aversion for what reason demands. Free from passionate aversion means acting without fear of rejection. The Stoics' focus is entirely on what they control, the invitation itself. They give it with courage and sincerity, and then they let go. The answer, whether yes, no, or silence, belongs to the other person's universe, not theirs. Donald Robertson, a psychotherapist and modern Stoic writer, highlights the psychological power of this approach. Stoic self-esteem is based on character and intention, not on external results. A negative outcome like rejection does not shake your foundation of self-worth. This shifts the entire dynamic. The Stoic is not begging for validation. They are offering an opportunity. They are not a beggar asking for scraps of attention. They are a host extending an invitation to their own banquet. The energy is completely different, and people feel that difference instantly. Even Seneca, who lived under the dangerous shadow of Emperor Nero, embodied this courage. He acted when necessary, knowing full well that outcomes were uncertain, often deadly. But he never let fear paralyze his duty. His life was proof that purposeful action matters more than fearful inaction. In today's culture of endless situationships, unread messages and game playing, a Stoic approach cuts through the noise. It is refreshing, it is rare, and it is attractive, not because it manipulates, but because it radiates self-respect. Rejection, when it comes, is not a wound, but information. It says nothing about your worth. It only says something about compatibility in that moment. And with that knowledge, the Stoic moves forward, their inner balance untouched. Number 5, magnetic silence, using space to command respect. In the mindset of chasing, silence feels like death. Every hour without a reply is torture. Each gap in communication feels like rejection. And so, the chaser fills the silence with more messages, more reminders, more desperate noise. Ironically, this suffocates attraction instead of strengthening it. But the Stoic knows that silence, when lived correctly, is not weakness. It's power. For the Stoic, silence is never a game. It's not the cold shoulder or a manipulative strategy. It is the natural result of living a full, purposeful life. Marcus Aurelius, the busiest man in the world, commanding armies and running an empire, still reminded himself daily to focus only on what was essential. He wrote, "Do not waste what remains of your life on what others say or do, but only on what you do, so that it may be just and virtuous." When your life is anchored in purpose, you don't have time for desperate chasing. Your silence is not emptiness. It's filled with study, with work, with friendship, with growth. You are not absent. You are engaged with your own becoming, and that is deeply attractive. This type of silence communicates 3 powerful things without a single word. First, that you have a life worth living outside of them. You are not a satellite orbiting their world. You are your own center of gravity. Second, it signals unshakable confidence. You don't need constant validation to feel secure. And third, it sparks curiosity. In a world where everyone overshares and overchases, the one who can remain calm, steady, and silent creates space for others to lean in. Pythagoras, whose discipline shaped the Stoics centuries later, required his students to endure years of silence before they could speak. He taught, "Silence is the first stone in the temple of wisdom." The Stoic applies this lesson not by withdrawing completely, but by knowing when to let space speak louder than words. In dating and relationships, this silence born of purpose forces respect. It sets a boundary without saying, "This is a boundary." It communicates value without announcing, "I am valuable." Even today, modern Stoic writers like Sharon Lebel remind us that stillness and restraint are acts of self-possession in a world addicted to noise. And in relationships, self-possession is one of the rarest and most magnetic qualities a person can embody. So the next time silence arrives, don't fear it. Don't rush to fill it. Let it work for you. In that stillness you prove not just that you are confident, but that you are whole. And the truth is, nothing is more attractive than someone who doesn't need you, but chooses you. Number 6, resilience in love and rejection. Practicing Amor, Fati. Everything we've built so far, virtue, detachment, purposeful action, silence, will crumble if we can't withstand the final test, rejection. In the chase mentality, rejection feels like the end. It feels like proof that you are not enough. But to the Stoic, rejection is not failure, it is training. It is the perfect chance to practice one of the highest disciplines of all, Amor Fati, the love of fate. Epictetus, who endured slavery and hardship before becoming a teacher, drilled this lesson into his students with uncompromising clarity. Do not seek for things to happen as you wish, but wish for things to happen as they do, and your life will flow smoothly. If someone says no, The Stoic doesn't crumble. They see it as the right event at the right time, in the right place, within the larger order of the universe. Not punishment, not personal failure, simply reality. To resist it is to fight against life itself. To embrace it is to discover freedom. Centuries later, Friedrich Nietzsche revived this Stoic truth, calling it the formula for greatness. To not just accept fate, but to love it. To greet even rejection with a kind of joy, because it is fuel for growth. Modern writers like Ryan Holiday translate this principle with words that resonate in our own age. What blocks the path becomes the path. What stands in the way becomes the way. Rejection is not the end, it is the way. Each no becomes an opportunity to fortify your inner citadel, to prove that your worth is not for sale, that your peace cannot be bought or stolen. And when you stand firm in that dignity, paradoxically, you become even more attractive, because you've proven to yourself that you don't need what others wither without. This mindset is not only about dating, it is about resilience in every relationship, every trial. Life together is filled with storms, illness, loss, financial struggle. A Stoic partnership is not one where everything goes perfectly, but one where both people face fate together, turning obstacles into lessons and pain into fuel for virtue. As Seneca reminded his students in times of crisis, a gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials. Rejection is friction, pain is friction. But in the Stoic lens, this is the grindstone shaping you into someone stronger, wiser, freer. That is the essence of Amor Fati. To love not only the moments of triumph, but also the setbacks that reveal who you truly are. We've walked through the trap of chasing, the strength of virtue, the freedom of detachment, the clarity of purposeful action, the quiet power of silence, and the resilience of Amor Fati. Each principle strips away the illusions we've been sold about attraction. Movies tell us to pursue. Social media tells us to beg for attention. Modern dating advice tells us to play games. The Stoics tell us something different. The real prize is not someone else. It's who you become in the process. Attraction in the end is not about techniques. It's not about perfect timing or flawless lines. It's about character. It's about the fortress you build inside yourself. When you live with wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance, you stop asking, how do I get them to want me? And start asking, how do I become someone I truly admire? That transformation is magnetic. The respect, the love, the connection, they come as byproducts. As Ralph Waldo Emerson once reminded us, what you are speaks so loudly I cannot hear what you say. So from this moment on, stop searching for the right person. Start becoming the right person. Focus less on who chooses you and more on who you are choosing to be every single day. That shift is the heart of Stoic attraction, and it is the secret most people never discover. Now we want to hear from you. Which of these 6 Stoic pillars spoke to you the most? Which challenge do you face right now in your own journey? Chasing, detachment, silence, or resilience? Share your story in the comments. Your reflections can inspire others in this community. If this video gave you a new perspective, hit that like button, share it with someone who needs to escape the trap of chasing, and subscribe to the Stoic Lighthouse. We are committed to being the light that guides you through the fog of modern life. And don't miss our next video, where we'll uncover a story that almost no one talks about. He was a slave, but he discovered the secret of freedom that even emperors never fully understood. A secret so powerful, it can transform how you see your own life. Stay tuned, you won't want to miss this. Always remember, the world does not need another person chasing validation. It needs you, calm, grounded, radiant, and free. See you in the next video.